I hope this is coming out on the camera. The Indian blankets. I don't know what the little yellow flowers are called. It just looks, you see how they're all mixed? That is awesome. What a beautiful area. Let's get rid of that barbed wire fence. We're on Fulton Beach Road, and that's the HEB property. So that's kind of neat. Here comes a golf cart. It's the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Remember that Jungle Book, the original cartoon version? My friends have an autistic child who is probably 32, and I've talked to him about him before, and you know what, he's my friend now too. So he loves Jungle Book, but he would get like the VHS tape and play like 8 seconds at a time and reverse it and then play that 8 seconds. And then reverse it and play that 8 seconds. And that would go on for about an hour. So I'm very familiar with the opening of that song. It's the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. And that's all I know, because that's all he would play. Wow, he's probably older than that. He's probably 33 or 34. Sean was autistic, nonverbal, and I believe he had other issues as well. I would pick him up and take him out to eat, give his parents a little break. And he was good with icons. And we would try to take him to a restaurant with photos so he could point to what he wanted. But sometimes when he pointed to what he wanted food. So he was, in his mind, he was pointing at food. So it didn't always work out well. But if I was taking him to, trying to think of where we would go, a Friendly's ice cream place, I would always ask his mom or dad, what does Sean get when you go to Friendly's? What does Sean get when you go to Outback? And Ruby Tuesdays, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that restaurant chain, but that was one of his favorites. And yeah. By the way, guys, hey guys, you're watching Boondocking with Dennis. Make it official. Make that official. One time, I was taking him to the Springfield Mall, and we were kind of stuck in traffic, and Sean was getting a little antsy in the car. So I was hyping him up, and Sean would, when he was excited about something, he would clap his hands and then rub them together. And I think that's kind of a classic move for people with autism, or at least some people with autism. So, and he would also, when he wasn't doing that, he would put his hands up in the air with his fingers open and kind of shake them, kind of making jazz hands, they would call it today, you know. So we're stuck in traffic. We're like a half a mile from the mall, and to keep Sean from being violent, I was getting him hyped up and keeping him happy. Like, we're almost there. What are you going to get? And he's all smiles, and I'm mentioning different food, and he's waving his hands, and whew, there's the wind, guys. And the next thing I know, I see a cop lights behind me. And it was a Pennsylvania state trooper. And he walked up to my side of the car and looked at Sean. Sean always liked to sit in the back seat. And like, he just dropped his head. He knew what was going on as soon as he got up to the car, but he just smiled at me and said, I thought he was signaling for help. I was like, well, tell you the truth, officer, I'm the one that should be signaling for help. But that was a funny Sean story. So I went from Jungle Book to my buddy Sean to Pennsylvania State Troopers. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for stopping by. I got a joke from Chappie's Tiki Bar. Check out his channel, guys. He gets around. He's a Canadian, but we won't hold that against him. But yeah, he travels, and he's had world experiences, and he makes appetizers and mixed drinks, and has a little dog named Mookie. And sometimes occasionally you have another dog there, Chappie, and I forget the other dog's name, but Mookie's the star of the show. Chappie sent me an oldie but a goodie. Where does a general keep his armies? Where does a general keep his armies? That's an easy one. In his sleeveys. Thank you, Chappie. It's like freaking rush hour around here. 2:26 in the afternoon. Not too bad. I got a drink from Sonic, and it's a Red Bull Summer Edition slushie, half price on the app. And they were real busy. I ordered, and then you pull up to a little stall at Sonic and you check in, and I was answering comments and playing on my phone. I noticed like I'd been there a half hour and didn't get my drink yet. So I hit the little buzzer to talk to someone. They couldn't understand what I was saying. I was like, can you just send a manager out, please? So the manager came out, and she was awesome. And she apologized and was very nice. I wasn't upset or anything. I mean, it's not like I'm late for an appointment somewhere, you know. And while I was sitting there waiting for my stuff, I was watching the servers, because they bring it out to your car, and they were hustling. And I had left a tip on the app, and I mean, my drink was like, I don't know what it was, $2.50 or something, $2, and I left $1, you know, big spender. Here's a plane. I wonder if they're doing touch and goes today. Let's see what kind of plane it is. Coast Guard plane. Never mind. But both the servers they didn't look happy. You know, you could tell they were just worn out. And when the one girl, a younger girl who really reminded me of Devin, like a you know, Devin 10 years ago, or you know, 8 years ago or whatever. Very pretty, personable girl. And I gave her a tip, cash, and she said, this is my first day. She just started talking to me. I have an effect on young, pretty women. I am so old that I'm not seen as any threat whatsoever. So it's like if their grandfather just showed up at their job. But but she had a real awesome name. I don't want to say her name, but like really unique and old school Testament name. And she said she used to work at Moby Dick's. But if you live in Rockport and work at Moby Dick's, that's in Port Aransas, and in the summer, you can't get there. I mean, just the ferry and all, a 15-minute car ride turns into a 2.5-hour nightmare, you know? So she was all happy to get an extra tip, and she said her friend was the manager that I just met, I assume. And I got her on her first day, and yeah, now she's happy. I'm thinking there's going to be a lot of wind in the microphone, guys, but there are people just driving down this road, not even stop to look at the water. It's almost like they have a life, you know? It's almost like they have a life and things to do. But I think it's a sad day when you don't have time to stop and look at the water. There's a golf cart behind me. Can you hear the plane? I am trying out my microphone. See if I can get it to work today. So I'm hoping you can hear the plane and the waves and the wind. Well, that pier's taken a beating over the years. I'm surprised kind of that, and it is expensive to get these things removed, that the old piers are allowed to stay in the water, like they don't cause like a navigation hazard, you know? So it has been a good day, real good day so far. I put the window up for a minute. Man, I was thinking about, you guys remember Zorro? The TV series, not all the movies that came afterwards. Was 1957 to 1959, black and white. Disney produced them, and man, I like, you know, sometimes in the other videos we've talked about different TV shows and ones we like, you know, Gilligan's Island and Sanford and Son and All in the Family, but like, you know, Dobie Gillis, Rat Patrol, Bonanza, F Troop. I don't think anyone ever mentioned Zorro, and Zorro was awesome. Zorro was a little mini movie every episode, you know? And I was reading about Zorro today, that series. Disney spent $80,000 an episode back in 1957. And I was like, well, how much is that today? And it was over $850,000 an episode today. I mean, that's some money. That's right up there with like the Game of Thrones budget, you know? Wow, lots of planes. They got to be doing touch and goes. That didn't sound like the first plane. There you go, ladies. Here's a guy with his shirt off for you. Wow, it finally got nice enough where I can tell someone to put some clothes on. Yeah, like I went down a Zorro rabbit hole last night, guys. I was wondering, like, so how did Zorro originate? Because it really is kind of a Spanish Mexican version of Robin Hood, the rich and wealthy landowner, and he would come in and fight for the poor people and steal from the rich and give to the poor, and then he'd whip out his sword and carve a big Z in your chest. Good old Zorro. And then there was always the one Mexican army guy who later on kind of reminded me of Sergeant Schultz in Hogan's Heroes, you know? So But it was there was a, that's right overhead. Wow, I could actually see the shadow. Oh. There was a Pulp Fiction writer. And who was the lead actor? Guy Williams. I was reading about Guy Williams, and I was like, well, you think they could have got someone Spanish to at least play Zorro, you know? But, you know, back then it was common to get white actors and put a little makeup on them, and they'd be Native Americans, or they would be the Spanish, or, you know, Charlton Heston was Moses, you know, so they, but then I read Guy Williams, his real name was like, Armando, you know, something, so I'm like, okay, good. At least Disney did the Spanish people right. But yeah, it was a, Pulp Fiction novels by a guy named I want to say Johnston McCulley, and Zorro was based in the city of Los Angeles, Pueblo, Los Angeles, and back when California was still part of Mexico was the time period it was set in. So I just thought that was all pretty neat stuff. But then Guy Williams was in that movie I Was a Teenage Werewolf with Michael Landon. And then later in his life, he worked with Michael Landon on Bonanza. So that took like 15 minutes of my life. I went down a Guy Williams rabbit hole. Guys, I apologize for all this wind. I apologize for going on a Zorro rampage. Thanks for riding along today. Thanks for watching.